for the people who are still in the off-market business, one thing, this will just be real quick, that I have done that has revived some old leads is...
We got to get you one of like the really loud mechanical keyboards like I have, so it sounds like you're using a typewriter.
Oh, no. That thing is loud.
That's how people know that you mean business, though. The louder the typewriter you have, you know,
It's like
a
nerd. You're gaming.
Yeah.
All the gamer guys I know have like weird keyboards, like those lights and shit in them.
Yeah, well, it's like the geek equivalent of like grunting in the gym. You know, people they need to hear you to know that you're doing it right. You know, it's a very important.
I can't do that at Planet Fitness. Sets off the luck alarm.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Collecting Keys. I'm your host, Mike DeHaan, here with my co-host Dan Austin and Dylan Cook. Hello. And let's listen, see if Dan's keyboard goes. Oh, he stopped. There we go. He means business. That's how you know he's really getting stuff done over there.
Dan still types with like his fingers, like an old person. You know?
It's like an iPad.
Hey, it's not his fault. It's because of the injuries he got to his hands in the war. Okay, stop making fun of disabled.
You know what?
veterans.
This is actually a funny thing because what I've noticed recently in the last few years is my typing skills have actually gotten significantly worse. And I realized because I was teaching my daughter how to type, like we were talking about typing. She's like, "What are those bumps on the keyboard for?" Right? And I was like, oh, let me give you a lesson. Back in the day, you know, you put your fingers here and you do typing class. But I've noticed that I literally just sling letters pretty much the most of the day. And once in a while, like I get it right. I think my brain's just like, I've been typing.
It's just muscle memory.
My brain is like not thinking what it's doing and it's just going.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's funny because you don't realize how much of a skill that is until you're around people that don't have that. And then you're like, oh boy.
Right.
Or even like navigating a computer in general. You know, because like we're pretty savvy, just like with all the different platforms that you've had to use. I think just because of our age group, but then also, you know, getting technical degrees, you kind of like had to learn to use Excel to do like your physics labs and shit that we had in college. Right. And like a lot of people just never did that. Like we've had people on our team that are, you know, in their 50s and they've been in a corporate environment before, but then you have to they have to add something like in Excel or like we would put in these like pricing tools on Excel for them to be able to determine offers for acquisitions like that. They couldn't use it at all, you know? And like that was an interesting thing when we were really growing the scale community a couple of years ago. And we had like these different tools and stuff that I put together that I was very proud of. I'm like, yeah, these are all the templates and things that we use for all of our offers for sub-2s, whatever. Like 3/4 of the people had no idea how the hell to use it.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I guess
this is
useless.
Perfectly summed up with like the meme that says, me watching my superior who makes 3 times more than me struggle to save a PDF.
Oh God.
And you know what's hilarious? Dan literally yesterday, he sent me a bunch of things and he said, can you save these as PDFs for me?
No, okay. I have a good excuse for that. I have 100% good. So this came to a head this week because I finally gave up on Mac. So I've had a MacBook for a few years now, and it's the worst system I've ever. I hate it.
I love my Mac.
I hate it. It's the biggest piece of shit. And so it was, you know, when you get a locked PDF from like a title company, and so you have to get the password and then you can open it. Well, you can't save it because it'll just save it. So you have to print as PDF. Guess what my Mac refused to do? It would not print it as a PDF. And I was like, God damn it. So I had to send it to Mike to do. So then now I'm getting a new computer.
Yeah.
I hate it so bad. It's so hard to like have like multiple tabs open. Maybe I'm just dumb, but it's so hard to operate.
You'd be like the government with the redacted Epstein files where apparently you could just copy and paste it and it wasn't redacted anymore.
That one would have got me. I would have been like, shit, there's black on it. I'm fucked. Can't get it off.
Yeah. It's like, well, the problem is they edited these Epstein files with a Canva template, you know, so it's really easy just to go and modify it.
Dude,
you can actually download the template from the White House official Canva. Yeah.
I've had a wholesaler send me a redacted contract that was just like on Microsoft Paint. I could literally go in and to see what they had the contract price for.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's happened to me. I was like, well, you're an idiot, but thanks.
That's so funny. It's like when people send, like you get like the new wholesaler who sends out a dispo email and they accidentally put their entire buyers list in like the or the CC. I'm like, well, thank you. These are all my buyers now.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that.
Until half of them get rejected for like email doesn't exist or whatever. But yeah,
right. 100%. But they half of them respond back and they're like reply all and they're like, remove me from this list, and you're getting
oh my God. Yeah.
I remember when I was at Boeing, one of the most exciting things that happened while I was there was somebody sent out like a team-wide email but instead of doing it in BCC, they did it to like the 2. And so there was like 6,000 people on it. Was like a ridiculous email, right? And they sent it out, and so many people replied back
Oh my God.
saying like, remove me from this distribution list. And then other people were replying back saying, just don't answer, and they won't send it again. And so there you had like this basically mob of people that were all going back and forth. And it was so significant that it crashed the email system.
I'm like physically cringing.
That's
from
like
that. I would be so
corporate
mad.
America.
These are
Corporate
people.
America.
This is a company that builds things that fly across the ocean, and this is how terrible their internal systems are. That if there's like an accidental email chain, it brings everything down.
We haven't had a Boeing
That's a really
plane
bad
go down
time,
in a while.
At least 30 days.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
30 days. God, not that we know of. But anyways,
That's wild.
so right on, guys. Well, I think we start with some of the big news since this came out yesterday, and everyone has been talking about it, and I've seen about 50 different versions of this that are wrong. But Trump made his announcement that he was going to make a move to, I would say, like ban institutional buyers from buying single family homes. And it's very funny to me that he's done this because it's like very uncapitalistic, which is kind of like the root of the Republican motto, right? They're antisocial and very pro-capitalist. But it's also like something that you can't necessarily regulate because there's so many ways to get around it. So it just feels to me like it's very like pandery to the peasants.
100%.
You know, during the election year, he's just like saying something that regardless of the aisle the side of the aisle that you're on, affording a house is hard right now. And everyone seems to think that there's this big scapegoat that is the institutional investors.
Right. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, if you look at the actual numbers, like institutional investors own like the big money own an extremely small amount of real estate in the United States. So Blackstone's the biggest one. Okay, they are currently invested in about 600,000 homes, from what I saw, across the United States.
How many homes are there?
Millions and millions, like tens of millions, like hundreds of millions, probably more.
Really?
Than that.
Hundreds? No, not
the numbers
Yeah.
I've seen is only 4% of the whole housing stock. Is
How
owned
It's
many
by-
homes
incredibly
are-
small.
yeah.
Let's see.
But
There's
to caveat that,
145 million housing units. I guess
Correct.
that would probably include
And
apartments. Yeah, I was thinking
you would
housing.
need single families. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
It's either way, it's a lot, right? Like, and so what they own less than 1 million total. They're usually concentrated in like specific areas. It's not like
Yes.
they're like scattershot across the entire thing and they have these stakeholders. There'll be like a surplus in like Phoenix and all these sort of things, right? But and then like to your point, Dylan, like the total sum that I've seen, like I guess like the total percentage, if you look at like all of them, was about 4%. And so that's
according to
relatively small
Gemini, there's 82 million homes, 82 to 86 single family homes, and 68 million are owned by owner occupants. So there's not that many that are even owned. Percentage, like overall percentage, is still owned by Americans.
Correct.
Like individuals. Yep.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bigger
But-
problem is like, how many of the boomer people who have inflated who aren't selling, who have a paid off mortgage or have a 2% interest rate. So there's not selling, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
You know what we
the
should
bigger-
do? We should tax them based on that asset value.
Well, I mean,
Dylan's like, okay. Idiot.
No,
Dylan's like, I'm libertarian.
Dylan's like, are
Taxes
you
make
that?
my
Are you
brain
that
hurt.
dumb? Oh, I can't do it.
I mean, you can't this upshot. I mean, it's just,
That's
that
like the
would just be
billionaire
the
tax.
same
That's
pro-
the idea, right? The billionaire tax in California, they want to tax your total asset
Yeah, but how many
value.
of the ordinary Americans, like what, 70% of net worth is their primary residence. So like you're just
exactly.
fucking their only like livelihood.
I know. Sure.
Sounds like a them problem.
Sounds like a
Dylan.
them
Come
problem,
on.
yeah.
Hey, I'm not.
Look at it from the
I'm-
higher ups. It's their
I'm more
problem.
anti-boomer, and boomers
May-
have
may-
the Goldilocks of economic headwinds.
Maybe
so.
those boomers that are worried about that should pull their bootstraps up and get a fucking job, right? That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what they said to everybody else.
I have a good argument for this, but I don't want to go down that pipe because I do want
Anyway.
to keep talking about this topic here, which I
Yeah.
think is an interesting one because I would love to hear what your guys' opinions are on what's going to actually happen.
Have any details actually come out about what he entails to
No,
do
of
with
course
that?
not, dude.
Yeah.
No, and couldn't you just have every entity, like, okay, a holding company and everything underneath it owns 99 homes, right? So how
Yeah.
are you going to police that, right?
Which
Like,
is
you're
what
not.
they already do, and,
Yeah.
and so like it's just like how during like the 21 and 22 period, people would sell to these hedge funds. They would all have different names. They were all different subsidiaries of typically BlackRock, because they're the ones if you like actually figured out where they were going to, right? And so they just set up these different companies. They own the company because there's no law against owning companies, right? They're going to say that like companies that if you can't own a company that owns real estate, right? Like, why couldn't you just have 200,000 companies if you wanted to own 200,000 homes, technically, right? LLC, it's not like it's that incredibly hard to file that, especially if you are a massive company, a BlackRock. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it costs an extra $1,000 for them to file that every year. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing that this has been all over my Facebook and people arguing, being dumb about it. And they're like, and all this kind of stuff, but it's a thing that's a headline that the normal person can grasp, like, that's a good idea. I can get behind that. And that's feels like all it is.
It's a bait because Trump's trying to get the liberals to argue how we need institutional buyers to buy all the real estate up. That's all it is.
I don't know if that train of thought is where I'd go, but
I think it is because I actually kind of agree with Dan on that because I think that there's this whole thing. This is always like the joke is they will always disagree with Trump on everything. So now he's saying something that they obviously would agree with.
So he's basically
trying. That was their platform. Yeah. And so now he's trying to basically rage bait them into.
And I 100% believe Trump would do that. Like,
absolutely.
Do stuff like that.
He doesn't think that way because he's barely cognizant. But the people that are behind him that run his trollish social media, absolutely.
I don't. I actually think he probably has a lot to say when it comes to that stuff. His ego's so big. He's just like, I'm saying this. You guys shut up. And now he's probably got people on his team that are like, yeah, say it, dog.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, they do, man. I
mean, I think we're all in agreement though. Like, this isn't going to move the needle.
No, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah,
it's literally just pandering to.
So if it wasn't let's get away from the politics thing, and let's just say it's actually going to happen. Let's say Trump does it. He's just loves Americans, and he's going to make sure that we're better off for this. What's going to happen in the market?
Well, what actually happens in general? Can they not buy new homes? Can they not own them? You can't force them to sell what they already have. Right? Do you create incentives that will make it so undesirable for them to own them that it kind of like forces them to sell it as a result? Right? Like,
there's a good case study of this in Cincinnati though. There's like Vinebrook Homes is a big hedge fund. They're publicly traded. They're a REIT, and they owned a ton of stuff in the city of Cincinnati, but they got a lot of backlash from the city. So the city kept fining them, and like they knew which ones. If you had your grass was 3 inches tall, they'd fine them. And eventually Vinebrook's like, we're not buying here anymore. So like they did kind of weed them out just from a regulatory perspective.
Yeah. So it's almost like a HOA, like code violations is basically what they do.
I want that here where we live.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. But I mean, like that's one thing. So what are they going to go and say that if you're an institution that owns homes that they have to like be perfect, like perfectly manicured? That doesn't make sense.
I think I don't care about that. Sorry.
Oh no worries. I'm just trying. Like what I'm trying to figure out is like what they can actually do. But go for it.
So I guess I shouldn't say I don't care about that. What I want to talk about is if that exists, if that law exists among capitalism is always going to find the most efficient way to make money. So what's that next most efficient way to do it? And I think BlackRock or whoever's these hedge funds owning these, in a hypothetical world, if this was a significant part of their investment strategy, they would find a new way to do this. Sure, you could do the LLC loophole, but say they close that out. So maybe it's single family homes. Okay, well, we'll just buy all the duplexes. They like duplexes too, right? Like they'll just like wherever the most efficient way to make money. It might not be the same as they were doing before. It'll just find a different way. And what it points at is this idea of housing affordability. That's what it's speaking to, because really what probably is Trump has heard from his team, if I had to guess, is that, hey, there's a lot of people that talk about housing affordability. The poors out there say that it's hard to get a house. Now, I've got a lot of points to make on that, but what I would say is I don't think that fixing the housing prices is the right thing to do, because fundamentally what Trump is saying in that statement, or what people believe when they say that statement, is that these guys are driving up prices because they're buying all the houses from people, and then we have to rent. There's no stock available for us to buy, which we all know that that's not the truth underlying it. They're not driving up prices like that. They may be in some time frames and in some micro markets that happened. But what you're fundamentally doing then is you're rooting against the American economy, which is super heavily based on housing and super heavily based on just like the American dream of owning a home and all that stuff. And so you're saying, I want the market to go down, which would be way more devastating to the American economy, which Trump doesn't want, none of us want, than having people be able to afford a home. because you're essentially taking what you said earlier, Dylan, was like the biggest wealth capture for most Americans is the equity in their home, and the baby boomers who are all retiring right now and wanting to probably sell their homes. You're taking all that wealth out. Mm-hmm. That's fundamentally what you're saying is you're rooting against the American economy because you want the housing prices to go down.
The problem is you look too long term. Politicians don't look long term.
Well, I know that.
What's going to happen over the next.
But even just the average person that says this, right? Because Trump didn't come up with this idea. He doesn't care. I thought the thought actually crossed my mind that the BlackRock CEO said something to Trump, and he's like, "Hold my beer, bitch." Like you pissed me off, or you wouldn't do what I wanted you to do, so I'm going to say something. And
their stock was down like 9%. Yeah,
their stock was down, and so for Trump, that's a power move if that was the case. That did cross my mind, but I just think a lot of people that talk about affordability and how they hate the landlord, they hate these people. Like, you own my apartment building, that means you're a piece of shit, or you own my house, that means you're a piece of shit. Really, you're rooting for the American economy to go down. Is that what you want?
Well, the boomers have the inflated 401ks and IRAs, and they also have the equity in their home, right? Like they're kind of got the Goldilocks scenario for wealth building over younger generational classes. And Trump was even on an interview where he alluded to this. He's like, well, I don't want to crash housing prices because of the people who are retiring. But at the same time, you want to give people who are younger the opportunity to buy a house to create that equity. And you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't see a way where you can hurt one without hurting the other.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Yeah, because it's all connected. And I think along those lines is eventually the baby boomers are going to pass on that wealth, or they're going to die, or whatever. That housing inventory is going to loosen up. And I believe this for a long time. When I first learned this, is I don't know when I learned this, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, when people were like, the baby boomers are the largest generation, and the millennials, who is fundamentally are right behind the baby boomers, right? Most of our parents are baby boomers, right? There's a Gen X squeezed in there, but fundamentally the millennials are the largest generation, making the boomers the second largest. Well, we're building housing inventory for everybody because we're all adults. We're all living together. We all need houses. My parents need houses. Your parents have houses, and we have houses. Eventually, they're going to die, and we don't need their houses.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
But somebody does. But so then that large, which is going to happen over the next 10 years, that large argument that the housing market is under, or the housing stock is underbuilt, that shifts because all those houses come back on as inventory.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the long-term thought is like, it will happen. It's just not going to happen today for the last 4-year term or this 4-year term for this Congress or this president.
One thing that I think to round out this conversation that I think it's more of like a higher level discussion, I guess, but it's ever since 2008, housing has become more of a financial instrument than it was in the past. Mm-hmm. And that's because of QE, because of manipulation of the currency. And so I almost put more of the blame on the Federal Reserve and Congress and the Treasury because of the manipulation of the dollar, of quantitative, of printing all this money. People use real estate as a financial means, which like they still did that before that, but not near to the same extent. And I'm included in that. So like, don't get me wrong. I learned the game and I'm playing it, but like, I almost think if it wasn't for that, most people would still view homes as, especially single family homes, as that's where you live, not a financial utility for my retirement.
Yeah. It was like a form of stability, right? Instead of, an actual means to an end to be able to retire and like the American dream and everything else. But I mean, like, I do think that they have kind of intentionally gone that way because it forces there to be some stability for people that are older. Like, it's almost like if people can get into homes, it does give them that. So it allows them to, so like, I don't want to say like a theory that I have. They do occasionally make sort of like long-term plays. And so there's a lot of talking about Social Security. Mm-hmm. Technically, if people have another opportunity to have some kind of payday, you wouldn't need Social Security anymore, right? And that can be a home, that can be a 401k, whatever. Not everyone has 401ks when discovered through company and stuff like that. But if more people can get into a home and like that's like a platform that you can like push people to, or even if it's like subsidized housing, right, that they like build equity and ownership in, that can take place of a Social Security sort of setup, right? Or like getting actual government cash benefits, and if you choose to exercise or not, that's up to you. But I've thought this for a while that like, I feel like there might've been some view to be able to push people to that. Like, that's why they started like bailing out all these, banks and things like that, and like really promoting that push towards home ownership with like the Fannie Freddie loans and everything being following like the federal rates. Because when they were doing that, all the federal government was doing was making it easier for people to get into houses with cheaper debt, because now it's no longer completely private. It's based off of the federal government and what they're willing to pay, which is very much more like a macroeconomic thing. So I don't know, like it's not the...
I think if you live in a pure capitalistic society, the government would not be involved in, I shouldn't say like at all, but they would have a much lesser role. And that's buying mortgage-backed securities. That's part of the FHA. That's the whole 9 yards.
If we lived in a fully capitalistic society, there would be a company that takes place of the government that basically does all those things. Instead.
So it's funny because even though I am more libertarian and capitalistic, I do think there's a place for like trust busting and like not having monopolies.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
So there's a role for that. When you get into the housing and like, I won't even say human right, but like what's best for the average American, it's a more nuanced conversation.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is that's very, like you said, it's nuanced, that varies heavily based off of people's circumstances and everything else. And that's why it's a super complex issue. Is basically like if you look at the countries people like to idolize, Japan's always like a big one, Scandinavia. Those people that live there are all the same.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's not even in line.
Yeah, that's not even like a racist comment. Like they're literally the same people. They have the same upbringing. They have the same set of like values as a culture. Like, they have different personal interests, different family situations, whatever, but they don't have like some people that came from Ireland, some people that came from Africa, some people that are from Central and South America, some people that are Native American, right? Like they don't have Somalia. Yeah. They got a lot of Somalians, right? They're crushing it right now. But
they're luring their lessons.
Yeah. But the point is like that doesn't exist in those other countries. And so it's much easier to have a singular solution that a central federal government can kind of like forecast for. Not only that, but the country's so much smaller. This is always the biggest thing with the United States that people don't tend to understand if you don't live here, is how incredibly huge the US is and how different everywhere is.
Yeah.
For us in Washington State, the culture here is 1000% different from Miami, Florida. Like it's not even close. It might as well be that is like comparing Scotland to Greece. Like it is just not a comparable thing.
And isn't like DFW, the GDP output's like the same as Denmark, like the entire country or something like that?
California, I think as a state, last time I saw it was like 7 or 8 in the world.
Fourth largest GDP in the world right now, currently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is wild. That's huge. America's number 1, right? And then was China number 2? Who's 3? Japan?
Yeah, and then California.
They're basically competing with China.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, it's just different. And like any changes that happen here at like a federal level, it's just so overly complicated, and there's not really a good solution that will please everybody ever. It's just not possible.
I think you have to. Honestly, my recommendation is put a lot of decision making back in local jurisdictions, what housing they want.
Yeah.
And then hopefully deregulate from that point, and then just let that kind of play out with who's going to build. And I mean, Austin's a good example of people who build a lot of housing and then now rent, like prices are down from the peaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, actually, Dylan. And it's like getting back to the basics. We should, like, we talk about a lot of polarizing federal politics, but it feels like going back local is what everybody needs to realize is more advantageous to them. Getting involved in like your local like communities and your local governments and helping influence laws that affect you, because like what the federal government does, it does have an effect on everybody because we're all fall underneath it, but it doesn't have to. It shouldn't. I don't think that was the founding fathers' intentions, was that we all just are sucking off the teat of the American government. Like, no, it should be like local. And so I feel like you can solve a lot of these housing issues locally.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it's quite the opposite, because they did that to get away from the monarchy.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But really nobody's rooting for who's on their city council. They're rooting for red or blue up at the White House, but that should not really have that big of an effect.
Do you even know who's on our city council?
I know a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I'm also not in the city.
I see the fucking trash signs that they leave out for years. I don't know if the people got elected or not. All I see is just the
and they're probably running. They're probably running on anti-litter campaigns too.
Absolutely,
100%.
That's the irony of it.
Yeah.
So, Anyways, so I guess to round that out, what it means, like, will it change anything? No. Is it just them getting clicks and trying to distract from the fact that ICE murdered somebody in Minneapolis yesterday? Absolutely.
Well, here's the question: is it a defensive murder?
Let's not talk about this on here.
It's so hard to know. So this is when it comes to like police violence.
Mike and I'll talk about this, Dylan.
No,
go ahead.
Well, we're going to be on the same side with this.
Yeah,
and
Mike and I probably will be.
The problem is it like when you look at these kind of things in like reflection, right? You always like see the video. People always are fucking slowing it down and they're looking at it, right? It's like the same as when you're watching, it's bad comparison because somebody died, but like when you're watching sports and you're like, how did that guy miss the fucking catch? And they're showing it in slow motion and they're like, look, it's like right in his hands. So lots of things like what you didn't see is like the mental game that's going on, what's going on. Like in that situation, there was obviously some kind of conflict. Those people were engaged in an argument. There were people around the car, right? That guy, like he is in a flight or fight mode, the guy that shot that lady, right? And the car moved. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He has 0.1 second to make a decision. He made the wrong decision and killed this person that, if you look at it in the video, right, was like trying to steer out of there, whatever, and murdered somebody. The response to it is what gets very inappropriate, right? When you have all these people saying that like the guy's in the hospital shit, which is just not true.
Yeah. People want to win so bad on like an argument. It's like political all of a sudden.
But the problem is like at that 2-second window when that happened, there's an infinite number of variables and there are people that are fearing for their lives and they're going to make decisions. And that decision will always intrinsically be in what will protect them. Right. And so like when it comes to any of these like police violence things and stuff that happens, it's so challenging because you'll look at those scenarios and there's so many things like where it gets sketchy is like the George Floyd stuff where he was like on his neck for like an hour. You know, I was like, that's fucked up. Like you had a long time to like change your mind. You didn't do it. When it comes to like this split second thing, it's a tragedy, but it's bad all around. Like there's no winning that argument. You know, like is that guy supposed to just accept that he might have been hit by a car and not do that? No, like that's not realistic. Should that lady not have like tried to accelerate out of that situation? Probably, but she didn't know if they were going to shoot her right there, right? She was afraid. You know, there's no correct.
Well, I think too I think the more challenging topic is like so many people on social media are experts right now, and they're telling you what happened. It's like.
They're watching the game tape.
I don't know. Right? I actually don't know what happened. I saw a news clip, which could be completely wrong, is that she came through the ICE investigation and tried to stop them from doing something. I also heard that their vehicle was stuck in the ditch and they're trying to get it out. Like, there's a lot of stuff, but my point is
100 different angles online. There's all these people that were filming the whole thing. You can see it from all angles, right? Like it's fully open to interpretation, but it's impossible to see the mental.
Well, I guess what I'm saying too is like, why was that lady there? So my point. I don't have any idea why.
So they had stopped traffic. Like there was like a series of cars and she was trying to get out of the situation.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know that. Right?
There's cars in front of her that are stopped. There's cars behind her. There's all these ICE people on the street. There's all these people with cameras. Like, I don't know what her deal was. And she was like just trying to fucking get to work. And she's like, what the hell is this going on?
She's trying to get to the Leering Center, dude. Leave her alone.
Is that what was happening? I don't know.
I have no idea. That's what I was saying. My point is I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm an asshole. I always tend to disagree whenever there's a police shooting because and this is a unique situation and I'm not trying to apply it, but I'm just trying to use my logic as somebody who's carried a gun before and done this as like a job, not a police officer, but in the military. Like I never will question the person that was behind the gun because you don't know what they saw. You physically don't know what they saw from their perspective. However, I'm an asshole, like I said. And anytime there's like a police shooting, I'm like, well, could you have controlled the situation better? And this one, I'm not going to say that because I don't know anything about it. And there was a car driving at the guy, supposedly. I don't know. But in general, that's kind of my take is like it's a tough thing. And so when I see all these people jumping on as experts that have probably never carried a gun or been in that position, it's like, give me a break to be for or against it.
Yeah.
Because nobody should be for it. It's not good.
No, nobody should be for it. Being for it is ridiculous, you know, and looking at like the big picture about like why it happened. You can't like necessarily blame evil, all sorts of stuff like where it's, especially when you have like the ICE officer, like these are people that are in a role that did not exist a year ago. Like I get fucking ads on YouTube to go and apply to be an ICE officer.
I will say the counter to that too is this could have been a guy that's been doing it for 10 years and he's just like, I have a pension. Like, I know you hate me because I'm doing this job because this is what a Trump administration wants me to do. But I've been doing this 10, 15, 20 years and I'm like 3 years away from my pension. So I'm just not going to get fired. Like that guy might be facing that too.
That's true.
Might say it sucks. I don't know. I think people just get so wrapped up in what they want to see or believe. It's like, well, people aren't necessarily trying to be bad.
Yeah. And
maybe he was, though. He could also be a psychotic murderer.
You know, I also think that there are those guys that are in that position that are out for blood, just like there was people that went to war because they're like, I want to fucking kill people.
100%.
The bad guys.
Yes. You know? And when the people in America become the bad guy, then you're kind of like, it's tough.
Yeah. So,
anyways, they don't do that shit in Washington.
Dylan?
They don't do that in Washington.
I was just checking my email.
Well, this is how I know you don't do real business because your keyboard was quiet as shit.
Yeah.
So
I said checking. I wasn't doing anything else. I was trying to get you guys some loan docs earlier. That's what I was doing.
I know.
I know. Get that done. Sorry. I got distracted. Mike and I love this stuff.
You know, for the people who are still in the off-market business, one thing, this will just be real quick, that I have done that has revived some old leads is just reach out to some people you haven't talked to in 2 or 3 months and start a conversation with, hey, it's 2026, tax situation change, people's goals change, people's plans change. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to do with 123 Main Street? And I bet I've reached out to about 50 people since the new year, and 2 of them I think are going to be deals. And those are leads that are just sitting there in the CRM that are free, not free marketing dollars. You already spent it, but you don't have to spend more.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say that's a good tactic people can use to hopefully drive some more revenue to their business.
Think that's super valid because people, like, it's human nature to have some like invisible demarcation from December 31st to January 1st. And especially if it was a lead that came in, that November timeframe where people are like, well, I'll just talk to you after the holidays. Cause like they apparently just shut down for the holidays, especially if you're in the northern climates like we all are. Like when there's snow and people just don't want to do anything. You call them January though, they're ready to pop off and sell their house all of a sudden.
And some of these boomer people, they will do everything in their power not to pay Uncle Sam. Yeah. So they only sell one property a year. And so you're like, hey, and actually some of these, I've already sold a property for them before. So it's like, hey, man, it's a new year. What are you going to do with this other property?
Peeling off the portfolio?
Yeah.
You want to know how funny that is? Like, I'm going to have this situation. So we bought this house on seller financing because the guy didn't want to pay taxes and he didn't want his Medicare premiums to go up to show income. So we were just paying him $600 principal only, no interest, just every year. We've been paying him for 4 or 5 years, Mike. Anyways, we sold the property. He's like, I don't want the money back. He doesn't want it back so bad that he gave us an unsecured loan for the rest. And they're like, keep it in your bank account. And we're
shut up.
I'm serious.
Yes.
We've just had this dude's money sitting in our bank account.
And you know what? We're honest Abes over here. We haven't done it's been sitting in our bank account. We haven't done anything with it. We just write him a check for $600. So the note itself, the original note was due 6-7 days ago. And I emailed that we work with his son because the guy's a little bit older. And I was like, hey, we've got the money. Tell me how he wants the money, a check. I'll meet him, a bag of cash. I don't care. If he's really worried about taxes, I'm happy to keep paying him $600 a month. He's like, okay, let me talk to my dad about it. So I think he's just going to give us the money.
Bro, we should.
I hope you pay him in cash.
So much to avoid taxes. He's like, don't give me my money. I don't know who you guys are. Basically, he really doesn't. We only talked to him like 3 times.
Yeah,
we should really.
But
do
that's a good.
Like that, though.
The taxes one part, but honestly, like the older people who are going to that Medicare, that's a real concern for them.
It is.
So if you can structure deals kind of like you guys did, you're going to win more deals than other people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that does help. And it is a significant jump. I've talked to my father-in-law about that recently because he's on Medicare and having to deal with like the RMDs and stuff like that. And he's basically like, yeah, now I'm going to have to, pay 25% tax or whatever it is. And then all of my Medicare goes up. And so it's like, damn. But he's at a point
there's
where
a chain effect to that. Yeah,
I know. Right. And where it gets very significant is when it's going back to the beginning of the show, those people that all of their value is in their house. They have no other income. They have no other assets. And so they're going to sell this house. It's appreciated a shit ton. So even though it's their primary residence, they still pay capital gains on it.
Yep.
Right. And it's going to affect their Medicare.
Wait, what do you mean? Why would they have to pay capital? Oh, because they're over the threshold?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you have that where you're at, but out here we do.
Yeah. What's the threshold right now?
It's 250 if you're single, 500 if you're married.
Still at 500.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have some of these people out in North Idaho that like they bought their house for like 60 grand and some Cracker Jacks, like not even that long ago in like the 90s, you know, and now they can sell things for 700.
Dude, I have that problem in my house right now, damn near. Like, and I bought it 5 years ago. Like, we had a run up, you know.
Yeah, you do, because you got a deal on yours, and your house is like prime for the area. But so like, but that affects so many things, and when it's rental property is even worse. Like there was a series of time, I feel like in 21 especially, where you had a lot of these like older, they were like widowers or something that had a rental property that was like their husband owned, or it was an old primary residence. Sometimes it was even like their son that lived there, right? And COVID happened, and the tenant, even if it was the son, just like stopped paying, right? And they're like, well, I don't want to like kick my son out, so I'll sell you the house for 50 cents on the dollar, and then you can fucking take care
deal
of
with your,
you know? And then you show up and the son's like 55 and just like an asshole. You're like, oh my God. You know, but but those situations, you go into it, and multiple times we would run into where like they were going to get completely screwed because their Social Security would take such a huge jump, and the gains that they were going to be getting weren't enough to cover that long, like for like not even like the next 10 years, right, of Social Security for them. Like if they're only making like 120 on their house, right? And so it's
this is actually when seller finance can come in, because you know, you do it, and if you do the low interest or like no interest, like you don't pay income tax on principal. You only pay it on interest accrued.
So basically you pay income tax on the interest that you pay every year. And then your capital gains, if you have capital gains, those basically are, it's like prorated. So you only pay capital gains on the principal that gets paid down every single year.
Right.
Which
also includes a down payment. Like if you got a down payment on something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you pay capital gains on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's lots of different ways it could be structured to be effective, but then you got to find someone that understands that and is going to be okay with that, which is a whole other ball game.
You know, this is like, here's another tactic for people, which I've said before, is trying to sell a house. It's kind of in a crappy part of town, but I did like the cash buyer radius search, like who's bought cash like near here. But if you try to wholesale a deal to someone who doesn't know what wholesaling is, it is very challenging. And eventually they just didn't do it because I could not educate them enough on what this actually is. They thought I was this like, you know, sleaziest guy ever, but
well, so talk sleazy on this front. So, my neighbors across the street, awesome people. You know, I've talked to them about what we do and everything, and they kind of got an interest in this, and they own a landscaping contracting company. They want to flip a house. So I connected them with some wholesalers. They've been looking at stuff, and they'll send me a deal. That one came through, they want to put an offer on. Okay. And I'm like talking to him, I'm like, I don't really like this deal, you know, and we're going back and forth. And then
who's the wholesaler?
Calls me.
Do I know?
It was not who we're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a different company.
Okay, you tell me later. You can tell me later.
I'll tell you later. But so it comes through, and he's like, yeah, he's like, so I was looking to make an offer on the house, and then I need a real estate agent to represent me on the purchase, because he didn't understand that it was like an assignment, right? He's like, and then I called her, and then she called the wholesaler, and then I don't know why, but the price went up. And I was like, this bitch. And I was like, what? And he was kind of like walking me through it. And I was like, oh, so here's
the
what
realtor's trying to get their fee.
Is the realtor figured out there wasn't a fee. So they are now charging you more money. And I was like, just so you know, you don't have to use an agent if you're buying a wholesale deal. You just work directly with the wholesaler.
Agent with them?
Yeah, well, so he contacted an agent that he knew to represent him, and it was significant. It was like a $250 was the original price, and all of a sudden she's like, yeah, it's going to be $265 now. It was like $15,000 on this thing. Basically,
dude, if he needs an agent, I'll do that shit. Come on,
no shit.
I'll make 15 grand.
I was like, yeah, you never need that. I was like, you can tell her to F off. He's like, yeah, that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, yeah, it should, because that's bad. Like,
right.
I want to know the agent's name. You can tell me off air.
Did you even like was the deal even good, Mike?
Nah,
like you,
no, I was like, if I was buying this, I'd want it like 220, 225.
Yeah.
You know, and then by the time the agent got it, it was like 264 or some shit. And it was originally at 250. And I was like, yeah.
You know what I love that I don't see anymore? I don't see the 3 daisy chain HUDs anymore. Like that was a thing a while ago, and I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now they've gotten more clever on that. Now they just double close and you don't see it at all.
Yeah. I mean, you could still like find that out though, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But so anyways, All right, guys. Well, anything else to wrap up?
I'm good. We got to talk about all my favorite topics today.
There we go.
Not fatties.
Yeah, not
No fatties. No fatties.
Yeah. God damn. Your algorithm is
Bro,
fun.
you sent me the first one. I was just telling you who he looks like.
Yeah, that's true. But what do you guys think? Do you guys want to have Greg on next week?
Let's get Gregory back. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm good with Greg.
Yeah.
Right on. He hit me up. So next week we will have Greg Helbeck, friend of the show, come and hang out with us for an hour. So if you have kids in the car while he's on, make sure that they have their earmuffs on. Because it's funny. Last time he was on, my dad listened and he's like, that guy you had on, he was really funny. He's like, God, his language was atrocious.
Yeah.
Greg.
He's straight out of New York, man.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So look forward to that next time. And thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
This episode is sponsored by Sir Lancelot LLC, also known as SLA Capital, which, if you didn't know, is Dan and I's private lending company. So yes, we are sponsoring our own show, but what you going to do about it? It is our private lending company that offers hard money and DSCR loans to real estate investors of all types. So you can be a new investor, an experienced investor. You can be buying flips. You can be buying rentals, whatever. We can do everything. And not only that, but the rates that we offer are just as competitive, if not cheaper, than pretty much every other company out there. So whatever big company you've been working with, bring us their term sheets and I guarantee you that we can probably beat it. We have the same connections they do. We just don't have all the overhead and middlemen. So if you want to come and check us out, go to slacapital.com/keys and I will know that you came from the show. And by seeing that you came from here, when you get to closing, you will save $500 on your first loan with us. So slacapital.com/keys, we would love to fund your next deal.